Hello and welcome to the Cyrus community. This is Church Unusual. Thank you so much for joining us as we continue with Kingdom Conversations. We keep the conversations of God going, and how every Wednesday we come together to look at a word that God has downloaded to us, break it down so that this word may become flesh and dwell among us. God has given us a prophetic word at TCC, and the word is that we're in a season to experience His power to create wealth. Now, this word must become flesh. But for it to become flesh, it's a journey, it's a process. Now, we must ask ourselves, what are some of the things that can hinder us from entering into God's word? If He gives a prophetic word, what is it that can stop it happening in our lives? Now, one of the things that we've looked at is debt. Debt can be a hindrance. Now, this journey of becoming the people where we can experience God's power to create wealth, there's another hindrance, and this is poverty. Now, the question is, how do we look at these two things and say we must dismantle them in our lives? Otherwise, this word will not become flesh and dwell among us. Now, we are going to have context of our discussion today.
And I think the first thing that we want to bring into context is, and this is very crucial, I like using that word a lot, and please get hold of it. Crucial means very, very important in terms of what you want to apply.
Oh, yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
The context we are discussing, whether it's power to create wealth, whether it's debt, and whether it's poverty, we are using a biblical context.
Okay. Yes.
I want to say that so that don't start asking us about how the world does this. In your questions, don't talk to us about what the NGOs are doing and
what
which
the
different
governments
people.
are doing.
Yes, we may make reference in how they contribute into attacking the kingdom, but they are not our focus to fix. You know that? It's not our focus to fix them.
Okay.
It is our focus to bring this order into the kingdom.
Okay.
Now, to begin with, we're going to look at what does the word poor even mean in the Bible. You see, the word poverty, interestingly, there are not too many references, but poor, many. But the whole idea is that the description of poor in the Bible always ends up with you understanding what poverty is. Yeah. Okay? Now, there are two key meanings. I won't even use the words today. I don't want to go into the Greek and Hebrew class. That's now for you. But whether in the Hebrew or in the Greek, there are two terms that usually refer to the poor. And those two terms together are the final description of poverty. All right? The first term usually indicates a scenario where you are in a situation where you are struggling to cope. You can't make ends meet. You're not in a terrible state of life, but you're struggling to maintain your life.
I think the world uses the word that struggling to make ends meet.
There you go.
Okay.
That's the first term for the word poverty. So whenever the Bible points out a poor person, check which poor they're talking about.
So there's this one who is struggling to make ends meet.
They can barely.
That's poor.
Yeah, they have a scant livelihood.
Okay.
They are just maintaining their life.
Okay.
They are not terribly in chaos, but their life. That's it.
It's a struggle.
It's a struggle to maintain.
Yes.
The second is what is called destitute. The extreme poverty, and this is the one that Jesus uses Lazarus as an explanation of that kind of poverty.
Destitute.
Somebody who is destitute, who is a beggar, who is incapable of doing anything.
Yes.
Now that's the second phase.
Now, what I'm hearing is, when we look at the world where we are coming from, a fallen position, the second one is the one we always refer to as poverty.
Exactly.
Where we say, I am not begging, I'm not sleeping on the streets, I have a place to sleep, I have something to eat. Therefore, I'm not poor. But when you use your definition, where you say that somebody who is struggling to make ends meet, then you realize how many poor people are in the kingdom. And remember what we said when he started. He said that we are concentrating on the poor among us.
Yes.
We are not talking about the world.
Out there.
The Bible separates and says, poor among you.
Yes.
If a brother is poor, and we look at that. So we are talking about the kingdom.
Yes.
And poverty in the kingdom.
So within the kingdom context, we also find those two kinds of people. But how we deal with it in the kingdom is what we are going to deal with.
Okay.
Our solution is for how to deal with poverty in the kingdom so we can get to where we are going. And the idea is that in the end, the world will come and say, teach us your ways. That's the journey. Right now, that's not our focus. Our focus is the poor among us. Now, one of the things I think it's important to put into context, if you go into Leviticus 19, it deals with how you will deal with poverty. Notice the key. How you will. They're in the wilderness. So right now, nobody's poor yet.
In the wilderness, everybody is equal.
Everybody
they
is
are
equal.
all eating manna.
So they are being taught about how to deal with debt and poverty before it ever comes.
So, wait, remember they are going to the promised land.
Yes.
But in that promised land, there's
Yes.
a possibility
Yes.
that debt will creep in.
Exactly.
That something will happen to you. Remember when he
Yes.
talks about obey and disobey.
Yes.
And you might find yourself in debt in that
Exactly.
land.
Exactly.
So you're being given a story
Yes.
of something you don't even know what it is yet.
And it is important to note that poverty and debt will be found in the land. In the land of promise. So don't get this idea that when you enter the land of promise, everything is okay.
That's one we need to talk about. Because there's this notion that once I'm walking with God,
That's it.
people don't understand that the Bible keeps saying over and over, if you obey what I tell you today, if you disobey what I tell you today. So do you
Consequence.
realize you're disobeying in the land?
Exactly.
Disobedience in the land.
There you
so
go.
there are people who can get into the promised land,
Yes.
where God gives you a proceeding word.
Yes.
You walk in it,
Yes.
your life happens, and you're living very well.
Yes.
From that position, you again disobey Him,
Yes.
but you're in the land.
So now for us to understand that, I want us to read Leviticus 19, 9 and 10 and see, remember again, what is the context here? They've just left Egypt, they're on the way to the land.
Yes.
Okay? At this time, they haven't even disobeyed God the first time. So they're really on the way to the land. But they are being told
What will happen there?
what will happen and how to deal with it when it happens.
Okay, Leviticus 19,
Yes,
9
verse-
to 10.
10, yes.
When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to the very edges of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Do not go over your vineyard a second time or pick up the grapes that have fallen. Leave them for the poor and the foreigner. I am the Lord your God.
Yes. Now, this is important. When you enter the land, do not glean everything.
Yes.
Guys, that's an interesting concept. Now, if you go to the book of Ruth, you'll understand what was going on. When she returned.
she went to Boaz.
Yes. Yet, see how they were dealing with this kind of poor. This is a particular type of poor.
Yes.
The poor who doesn't have enough, or the foreigner in the land. Why was the foreigner also treated this way? He didn't own anything. So he also was classified like
Poor.
the poor.
Yes.
But now what was the interesting thing? Leave it for them to gather. Interesting.
Do not gather for them.
And then give them.
They have to do it for themselves.
Leave it. Let them be the ones to gather.
Yes.
Meaning, what are you doing? You're empowering them.
Yes.
You're helping them to grow. That was one way you dealt with the poor in the land.
Okay.
When you got your harvest, which the Lord has given you, you didn't harvest everything. All right? What is the implication today?
Okay.
Very quick implication. This will come back to later. It means today, when I want to help the poor, I must create a scenario for them to gather.
You empower them.
Yes.
You give them opportunities so that they may use their hands.
Exactly.
Bible talks about God blessing the work of your hands.
Yes.
Now you must also allow the poor to have this thing called working
Exactly.
with their hands.
That's
now
most
notice
important.
we said we'll just keep checking what happens in the world, the government or the NGOs.
Yes.
This issue of people coming to empower the poor
Yes.
by just giving them money.
Aha.
By just saying tomorrow we went to the poor and we took to them food.
Yes.
You fed them and you went. You didn't do any
In
empowerment.
fact, let me drop something here that we will expand much more in this series.
Okay.
Poverty cannot be resolved by the lie called eradicating poverty. I want you to really hold on to that question. So much for, there's nothing like eradicating poverty. And that is where the problem is.
So that way, when you say we are eradicating poverty, we are
Yes.
talking as though poverty is something out
It's a
there
disease.
that we are looking at and saying this one we have to do 1, 2,
Yes.
3 for it to disappear.
Exactly.
And that's what you're saying, we cannot do that
can't
because
do
poverty
that.
is not out there.
Exactly.
Poverty is somewhere inside.
Exactly.
And we look at that.
We will look at that.
Yeah.
So really hold on to that thought.
Okay.
Now let's look at another scripture, Deuteronomy 15, 7.
7.
Okay?
If among you one of your brothers should become poor in any of your towns within your land that the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not harden your heart or shut your hand against your poor brother.
Aha.
Against your
Yes.
poor brother.
Now, this is the big question. If Deuteronomy 15:7.
Not when.
If, that means this is a big question. Something may happen that causes them to become poor.
Poor.
If that happens, do not
Harden
your heart against your brother. Now,
Yeah.
hardening your hand is a very interesting thing. It did not say, try and fix his poverty. It says, do not harden your hand. And that's another thing we really will break down
Yes.
very, very seriously.
Okay.
Because the idea we have of not hardening our hands against the brother is the same problem we have with the eradication of poverty.
I want to help.
Yes, it's poverty you want to deal with.
Yes.
Yet it's clear, it didn't say deal with poverty, it tells deal with your brother.
All right. Look at those two scriptures. Both of them
Yes.
talking about when you enter the land
Yes.
and you have poor among you.
Yes.
This is how to deal with them.
Aha.
Now let's go back and identify ourselves. At TCC,
Yes.
we don't just read the Bible. We
Yes.
ask ourselves, can I locate myself?
Yes.
Now there are three kinds of people here.
Aha.
There is the first one who is struggling to make ends meet.
Yes.
There is the other person who is down and out. So, which one of the two are you?
Yes.
There is another one who is empowering the brothers.
Exactly.
Identify yourself.
Yep.
Now, you don't sit and say, by the way, by faith, I am empowering the brothers.
No.
But you're empowering from the ground. You are the one down
Be
there.
empowered first.
Be empowered.
Yes.
And the way to get out of this is to acknowledge
Yes.
that, wait a minute, I am among the ones who are struggling to make ends meet.
Yes.
Or I am down and out. I need help.
Yes.
You realize if you call out for help, it's easier
Yeah.
than to sit there and hope something happens.
I think as we go through the definition of poverty, that definition will become clearer.
Oh, yes.
Because it's one thing to say which one are you, but once we get into a bit more definition,
Yes.
you'll get clarity on where you sit concerning the issue of poverty. So that's what we have to find out. In simple terms, first let's just describe the context of poverty.
Okay.
All right? Because for most people, poverty, unfortunately, they think is a tribe or a nature, where we say, we are the poor.
And they are the rich.
And they are the
I
rich.
was born poor.
These poor
We
people.
poor people. By the way, there are some people even listening and saying, today, finally TCC is addressing us, the
Yes.
poor. Finally
Yes.
TCC is not
Yes.
of they are addressing me,
Exactly.
the poor. Listen,
Yeah.
poverty is not a state of being.
It's not.
It's a result.
It's a result. And I
Yes.
think that's what I want us to really hold on to that statement. Poverty is not a state of being. There is no group of people called
the poor.
The poor. And there's no group. Listen, poverty is a description of people operating in the first two dynamics we talked about.
The Bible says, when you go to the land,
Yes.
if any among you, God did not say if this particular
If
group
you
of
find
people,
a group of people,
no,
they are called the
if
poor.
any, meaning God did not create anyone poor.
Yes.
Neither did God intend
Yes.
anyone to be poor.
Yes.
But if you find yourself there,
Yes.
then you have to ask yourself, how do I get out of here? Because this is not a permanent
Yeah.
state.
Yes.
But right now, we have reached a place where we actually identify with poverty, we embrace it, we
Yes.
defend it,
Yes.
and we even talk as the poor. By the way, let the poor come together.
Yes.
Let the poor come. You
There you
actually
go.
call yourself, it's like I said,
Yeah.
it's like a tribe.
It's like a tribe,
Yeah.
it's like a community.
Yes, we
you
are
know.
community of the poor. Wow.
You know, if your brother becomes, so poor is something you become.
You're not born into poverty.
Okay, you become. Now this is the only problem. The problem is that if your brother becomes poor and nothing is done about it, the result of his life will be known as poverty. In that result, if you are born, you can misdiagnose your character and your nature.
So let's go back. I love this journey. I love this journey. If a brother becomes
Poor.
he was not poor.
He was not
He
poor.
became.
Yes.
This brother, nothing was done.
Yes.
And he married.
Yes.
There's no way, being the poor, he married from the rich.
No.
He must have married from
It is
another
whose
poor.
brother became poor.
Two people have met. When these two people, nothing is done, and they raise children, and nothing is done, they are perpetuating poverty.
Thank you.
So this child, this new generation will
Yes,
say,
yes.
I was born by a poor mother.
Exactly.
And that's where most of us are.
Yes.
Where you wake up and say, by the way, we are the poor. I was born poor. No. A poor person, married a poor person, did not do anything,
Yes.
gave birth to the next generation,
Exactly.
and perpetuated.
Yes.
Now, what is God telling us? We are here to break the cycle. We
Yes.
are here to break that journey. We are saying the poverty ends with you. That's
Yes.
what you should say.
Yeah, and the reality is this. It doesn't matter how many generations
Oh, yes.
of poverty you have had.
Yeah.
You see, if you're in too many generations of poverty, you will now acquire for yourself another name called caste.
Oh, we are cast. You become like Gideon.
Exactly.
Gideon said,
I'm
leave
the
alone
least.
me.
Yeah.
I'm the least in my father's.
Father's
And the
house.
father is.
The
and
least.
the clan is. And
Generational mindset.
those are how many generations?
Exactly.
So, according to Gideon,
Yes.
this can change.
So the question is, did people inherit the reality of poverty or the mentality of poverty? Because that's where this lies. That's where politicians will wipe you clean
Oh, yes.
by telling you this is who you are,
And
and
you
they will
cannot
tell you
change.
it is somebody else's fault, and then lie to you. They will fix it until you get angry with them and somebody new comes.
Now, TCC, we are talking to TCC.
Yes.
And you've asked a powerful question.
Yes.
Did you inherit
Aha.
a mindset of poverty?
Yes.
Did you inherit the reality of poverty?
Yes.
Did you inherit the nature, the character
Yes.
of poverty? So that when you come to the kingdom and
Yes.
God says, I am taking you to a place where you will have power to create wealth, you're
Yes.
like, not me.
Not me.
It doesn't happen in our tribe.
Yeah,
We
for
are
us,
poor.
you guys don't understand. You guys are lucky.
Now you know why the word comes. Do you realize why God sends us his word?
Yes.
Because only the word can break that stronghold. So
Exactly.
that's no longer
Yes.
just a statement. It's
No.
a stronghold.
It's a
You have believed
major,
you're poor.
major-
Your parents are poor. Your
Yes.
grandparents are poor. Everybody around you is poor.
Yes.
Therefore, I cannot come out of this.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, I like the term you've used, the stronghold of poverty. That's really what we want to deal with today.
Yes,
That's
yes.
really where the journey and
Oh, yes.
starts. And then, like we said, now, let's not get into all the wide aspects, because poverty can be a result of various things. We know it can be a result of war, which was driven by what? By greed, by whatever. So people got displaced. They are no longer there. They're now the foreigner. Remember the foreigner among you?
Yes.
So they're already in poverty. That's fine. But remember, what did God say? Even the foreigner, let them glean.
Glean.
So even the foreigner who has been displaced, one who is in poverty because of displacement, are you a refugee? That's what we're saying.
So God
Even you
has
can
a
glean.
solution for everyone.
Exactly.
There's no one who can say my kind of poverty,
Yes.
even God cannot address.
Exactly.
Nothing like that.
Did your poverty come from war? Did your poverty come from you lost your parents? Whatever the cause of the poverty, it is not resolved by trying to attack poverty.
Yeah.
It is resolved by attacking the poverty that is not around you, but the poverty that is in you.
Let's say that again. The poverty in
Yes,
you.
yes.
Not the poverty.
Around you.
Now, let's talk about that for a few minutes.
Yes.
When people talk about poverty around them,
Yes.
talking to TCC, we are saying that many of you are looking around you and saying, wait, there's poverty around me,
Yes.
and that's what I'm dealing with. God, come and help my business, come and help my marriage, come and help our economy, because that's where the problem is. You're saying, no, it's not.
Yeah.
The problem is within.
Yeah,
Let's deal with the poverty within
Let me
first.
explain how that works.
Yeah.
It works like this.
Yeah.
There are people who, if you believe and are controlled by the poverty around you, and you've never seen the poverty within you, this is what you'll say. Where I am, there are no opportunities. Okay? That is, poverty is already in you, but you think it is around you.
So now you're seeing through the lens of
Yes,
poverty.
yes.
Okay.
But the one who deals with poverty in them has a different statement. Says, I have not seen the opportunities around me.
But they are there.
Yes, one says there are no opportunities. One says that I have not seen.
And that means I am looking. God opens
Exactly.
the eyes of my understanding.
Yes.
Because if I understand how you see, what you
Yes.
call opportunities,
Yes.
because that's the thing
Exactly.
where many people don't even understand how sometimes opportunities come
Yes.
disguised. So open my eyes
Exactly.
to see how you see.
Yes.
And I'll see the
You see,
opportunities.
if you think poverty is an external thing attacking you,
Yes.
instead of what is happening in your life is a result of poverty within you, then your life will shift very quickly.
How many of us can admit that? Acknowledge that whatever is happening around me is a result of the poverty within me.
Exactly.
Meaning I harbor poverty.
Yes.
I need to come to a place of saying, wait, I need to remove the poverty spirit internally
Yes.
so that I can start living and experiencing another kind of life, a God kind of life
Exactly.
in the earth.
So the poverty within me
yeah.
has locked me in the environment of the poverty around me.
All right. Okay.
If the poverty within me changes, I will not be locked into the poverty around me. Because what always happens is that we want to live in an environment that validates us.
Let me ask a question here. And these are questions where we are saying, remember we are trying to identify ourselves. I'm looking at a place where all the friends around you, people who surround you, do you talk the same language? Are they surprised when you say you don't have enough money to take you through this season? Are they surprised when you say you don't have food? Are they surprised when you say the kids can't go back to school because I don't have money?
Do they
Are
agree
they
with
surprised? Or they agree with you?
Yes.
If they agree with you, do you realize birds of a feather?
Exactly.
You attract each other
Yes.
because you're talking the same language and you're encouraging each other
Yes.
that this is normal, this
Exactly.
is okay.
And then let me just dig a bit into the Kenyan mentality because we are speaking within the context of Kenya, even though you're speaking, this is true everywhere.
Yes.
Listen, you, the politician, the thief, the rich man, the poor man, live under the same weather, same conditions, same everything. Poverty tells you it is somebody else's fault why you're in this state. Poverty tells you they're not giving you opportunity. If you have a poverty mentality, opportunity will diminish in your hands.
If you have a poverty.
Yes, even if you're given
mentality.
opportunity, it will still turn to poverty.
And that is why we are saying that the word of God comes to break the stronghold.
Yes.
Because a mentality can last generations.
Yeah.
That is where you hear somebody saying, I'm poor, my father was poor, his father was
Yes.
poor, and my great-grandfather,
Yes.
we are poor. Why?
Yes.
Because this is a mentality that has gone past, beyond generations,
Yes.
and it's still continuing if
Yes.
it's not stopped.
Exactly.
This is where we say that, can we say poverty ends with me?
Yes.
Why? Because when I access the knowledge and the mind of God concerning poverty and me,
Yes.
I should know that we are not supposed to be
Absolutely.
together. Yeah?
So really, at the end of this broadcast, you will make a choice.
Yes.
You will protect poverty,
Oh, yes.
nurse it and grow it,
Yes.
or you will be so offended, you will say, I'm the last in that line.
And I love what we started by saying,
Yes.
definition of poverty.
Yes.
That poverty is not lack of food or shelter.
Yes.
Poverty is the inability to make ends meet. Where you're
Simple.
saying, I'm permanently struggling. When it comes to paying school fees, I have to pay in bits and pieces
Yes.
because I just can't do this thing.
Exactly.
When it comes to food, money dictates what I eat.
Yes.
And we will look at the decisions of poverty.
Yeah,
We will
yeah.
see how people make
And
decisions
we will query,
when they're in poverty.
Yeah, and we will query all these different arguments of poverty alleviation. You know, all those arguments, we will query them. But now first, we want to look at some things that might actually surprise you. Because some of the things we are going to discuss are what everybody thinks
Yes.
are the causes of poverty. All right?
Yes.
And normally when we deal with poverty alleviation, we try to throw these things at people,
Okay.
assuming they will change their poverty.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things you need to know, poverty is not the result of lack of knowledge. People think poverty is the result of lack of knowledge. There are many poor people who are very knowledgeable.
Poverty is not a result of
A lack of knowledge.
lack of knowledge.
No. That
Okay.
is not true. Bible says the poor man's wisdom delivered the city.
He even had wisdom.
He had wisdom. He delivered a city, but he remained.
Poor.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Poverty, let's get that loud and clear. I think
Yes.
that needs to be repeated.
Yes.
Poverty is not a result of a lack of knowledge.
Yes.
That is powerful.
That is very important.
Okay?
Poverty is not the result of a lack of character. There are many poor people with excellent characters,
But they are poor.
but they are poor.
Remember, for me, I always say this. It might sound tough or heavy on you
Yes.
when you ask yourself, is that me? Are you talking about me?
Yes.
I'm knowledgeable,
Yep.
but I'm poor.
Yes.
I have character,
Yes.
but I am poor.
Mhm.
I should be looking at myself.
Exactly.
Again, going back to the same two definitions. Am I the one who is struggling to make ends meet, yet I have knowledge? Am I the one struggling to make ends meet, yet I
Yes.
have good character?
Yes.
Is that me?
That's a question.
Okay.
Now the third one is the most surprising one. Poverty is not due to lack of money.
It's not about knowledge,
in fact,
it's not character, it's not money.
on the other two, I'm sure everybody agreed with me. Because there are many poor people who just realize it's true. I have a lot of knowledge.
But I'm poor.
And actually I have character. I behave. But then the only thing that you query is that, but where is the
I
money?
behave,
I
okay.
behave. I've
Yeah.
got good manners.
All right. Yeah.
Not lack of money. That is the most interesting thing.
Yeah.
The reality is very simple. Poor people are bombarded with so many unresolved issues that make it almost impossible for them to make correct decisions. In fact, poverty is more a result of poor decisions than it is a result of any of the other three.
All right. Okay. Poverty is a result
Yes.
of poor
Poor
decisions.
decisions.
All right?
Yes.
Now, let's go back.
Yeah.
For me, I always want to put 1 + 1.
Yes.
Now, if my great-grandfather
Yes.
made poor decisions
Yes.
and he got into poverty,
Yes.
and then he gave birth to my great-grandfather,
Yes.
who continued with
Yes.
the poor decisions.
Exactly.
Nobody intervened and gave them another way out.
Yes.
And they continued making poor decisions.
Exactly.
It has reached my father,
Yes.
who is still making poor decisions.
There you go.
When he brought me up, I watched him make poor decisions.
Good.
I went to school
Yes.
through poor decisions.
Yes.
We ate through poor decisions.
Thank
And you
you.
see what that means.
Yes.
Here I am now, in my home.
Yes.
What am I living? I'm a result of a generational poor decision making people.
There you go. Now, what are poor decisions? Poor decisions are not bad decisions. That's why people keep making them.
Yes, because they don't sound
If
bad.
they were bad, people would stop.
Nobody would make them.
They're just poor. Poor means limited in wisdom. In other words, let me take a poor decision. A poor decision comes from you are already in poverty.
Okay?
Okay? You are under great pressure.
Okay?
All right? The pressure is so high, you need to get out of the pressure. When you need to get out of the pressure, one of the things people don't understand, pressure takes away your reasoning capacity.
So
Yeah.
when you're talking about pressure,
Yes.
I have these bills that are coming from every corner.
Exactly.
I need to take kids to school. I have to pay school fee. I have
Yes.
to pay rent. I have to pay. I have
Yes.
to buy food.
Yes.
I have somebody who is sick in hospital.
Yes.
When those things come, and I remember this reminds me of Daniel.
Yes.
When all instruments played
Playing
in harmony.
in harmony, yes.
When I hear that harmony,
Yes.
I don't have the opportunity to sit,
Yes.
think, and
Yes.
make clear decisions.
Exactly.
I make a poor decision.
So, where is the poor decision there? You respond to the most terrifying pressure, not the most important one.
Okay.
All right? Which pressure is going to seemingly put me in trouble?
So, when I have to pay bills,
Yes.
I'll check the bills and ask myself
Yes.
which one is making the highest noise. And that's the one I pay.
Exactly.
I'm not using the future or anything else to pay this bill. I'm
Exactly.
using pressure.
Yes.
I'm making a poor decision already.
Number one. Second part of the poor decision is that I am not querying the source of my borrowing.
Okay.
It's another poor decision.
Okay.
I'm not asking myself, what will borrowing this do? Remember, you're under pressure?
Yes.
You want to get the weight off of you? I don't understand that this current borrowing is going to put me into
Deeper.
deeper problems.
So pressure makes you not question
Yes.
debt,
Exactly.
the source of debt,
Yes.
the reason I'm borrowing,
Exactly.
the reason I'm doing what I'm just about to do.
Yes. And many times, the pressure I responded to, I don't resolve. I just respond to it. In
So-
other words, I owe the landlord 10 months.
Okay.
He comes with pressure. I borrow on very high interest. to pay him 2 months.
So I'm not borrowing to solve a problem.
No.
I'm borrowing to escape a problem.
Exactly.
I want this guy away from me. What can I do? So this
Exactly.
pressure causes me not to think
Yes.
about the future.
Exactly.
So when I'm borrowing here,
Yes.
I am not calculating 10 months from now.
Yes.
This is the next person who will be harassing
So
my life.
Why do I have multiple now? Because these are the decisions I made then.
Then poor decisions lead to poverty. And we are saying,
Yes.
if you look at a poor person, and here we've already explained in the kingdom,
Yes.
in TCC we are saying someone who have come from a lineage of poor decisions.
Yes.
Here you are and you are saying, I'm making poor decisions because I'm not even getting an opportunity to sit and think. Even if the
Exactly.
word comes, realize the word requires a process.
Yes.
If you are in debt will not allow you to go through a process.
Exactly.
Because you will ask yourself, God is telling us we're in a season to experience his power to create wealth.
Yes.
The landlord is at the door.
Exactly.
Listen, I don't care about this word. Why? Poor decision.
Exactly.
And some of the poor decision, like you're saying, another poor decision, of course, is talked about. We borrow at high interest rates.
Yes.
That's a poor person.
Exactly.
Another decision, you will always notice a poor person always loves lotteries.
Exactly.
Whether we call them
Whatever.
Betin,
Yes.
sports fest, or whatever they are.
Yes.
These things
They are
are
looking for an impossible miracle.
Okay. Okay, do you realize lotteries are not meant for the rich?
Absolutely. Which rich person
It's
plays
a
the lottery?
mirage for the poor. It's
Yes.
something that you're told, listen, when you get to the horizon, keep playing, you see it. When you get there, you'll do it.
Now let's look at the lottery for
Oh.
example. Okay? Because we're talking about poor decisions.
Okay?
A poor person doesn't think that a lottery is one person in 1 million who is going to win.
Okay?
And the way the lottery is structured, if we are trying to raise 1 million, we'll only pay out 10,000. But 10,000 for people who are betting 100 is a lot of money.
Say it again. 10,000
Yeah.
for someone in poverty
Yes.
is a lot of
It's
money.
a lot of money.
But remember what you started by saying,
Yes.
that poverty is not a result of lack of money.
Yes.
But somebody told you that all you need is money. And
Yes.
that is why poor people will always end up in betting activities.
And in cheaper, and they'll get deeper.
Deeper and
so this
deeper.
is the cycle of the person who wants to put in. Now that fellow has 100 shilling or $100, whatever. That's what you are paid for the day. In your head, that 100 cannot resolve the current scenario. So what do you think? You think by betting, you'll make 10,000.
And when I make this 10,000,
Which will
my
make-
problems are over.
Exactly.
Remember, the 10,000 is an external thing you will be given.
Yes.
That external things have not dealt with your internal problem.
There you go.
And that is why you're told that a foolish man and his money will
Yes.
soon be parted.
Yes.
A fool and his money
Yeah.
will soon be parted.
Yes.
Why? Because the fool remains a fool with money.
Yes.
Nothing has changed.
So the money
internally.
can't have residence.
And
It
the-
can't grow in the hands of a fool.
Now, neither can the money change him to a wise
Yes,
person.
exactly, because wisdom is not additional money. Wisdom is wisdom, and it will determine how you'll handle money in the future.
So when you're talking about, for example, now we are saying that
Yeah.
a poor person will always love lotteries,
Yes.
is because this person thinks their problem will be solved externally. They are
Yes.
not seen internally.
Yeah.
Now, notice what we said. When you get into the lineage of poverty, this lineage does not allow you to think.
Exactly, because it is a high pressure living lineage daily.
That's what we mean.
That's the problem.
That's exactly
the problem
what
that
I mean.
from the word go, there's always something chasing you. From the word go, there's always a pressure.
Yes.
From the word go, so you have to think between problems, but not think creatively. You see the problem now? You only think about how to put off this fire,
Yes.
how to solve the other one, and so on. Now, that pressure point puts you in a place where you'll never catch up. And that's how poverty increases. Now, let me say something about the so-called microfinances. Let me go there for a minute. Okay? And this is the problem with the microfinances. Microfinances help you cope with poverty. They don't take you out
of
of
poverty.
poverty.
Yes.
They help you cope. Do you know why? Research has proven that people who borrow from microfinances are more concerned about being credit worthy so they can borrow again
Yeah.
than they are about exiting. They have already realized they won't exit.
So I better learn how to live here
Yes.
and be a good prisoner.
Exactly. So I must
Of
always make
microfinancing.
sure that I pay back so I can borrow. They never pay back so they can exit.
And every time I borrow and I pay back well,
Yes.
my premium.
Borrowing margin increases.
And that's what I'm looking for.
That's all.
So in my mind, I'm telling myself, a time can come when I can borrow $1 million.
Exactly.
What do I need to do to get there?
Exactly.
So my life now, notice you're in a prison where you're even setting your own rules. You're actually setting your rules.
You want
on
to
how live
improve
here.
your prison status.
Oh.
The quality. And I want
Sad.
all of you to think, all of you who are in microfinances, all the lending, all the structures, think about it. What is the story always about for those who borrow from mobile lenders? What does it tell you? The minute you pay, what does it tell you? You are now eligible
Borrow again.
to borrow higher.
Again and again.
To borrow higher. So what are you doing? You're increasing.
I hope nobody in TCC is proud that on a
Your
mobile
margin,
app,
yes.
you're at a
premium.
$10,000 or $100,000
Yes.
because I've been such a good boy. I've
Exactly.
reached this level.
Yes.
Now that is sad because we are saying that stronghold has to be broken
Yes.
for you to go to the next level in
Yes.
trusting God that He has a financial model
Yes.
that can make you thrive without the systems of Babylon.
And here we answer the question people normally ask.
Yes.
Is it okay to borrow or not? Is it okay to take a loan or not? The answer is simple. If you're borrowing to get a higher threshold of credit, you're in trouble. A day is going to reach when that higher threshold is going to push you outside of your scope. And suddenly, the value you're borrowing will be higher than you can manage, and the result, poverty.
You're back to
It
poverty.
will crash you to
And
the ground.
remember what we are saying, that everything we are discussing, the debt
Yes.
and poverty, the enemy is behind it.
Yep.
This is not about you. The enemy is out there saying, wait, how can I
Yes.
get all these people into debt?
Yes.
Because as long as you get into debt, you'll get deeper into poverty. In poverty, you can't hear the word. You
Simple.
can't interpret the word.
Yeah.
You are not even interested
Yes.
with the word. And at this point, I'll still pause again and ask a question. You who is watching now, is there a time in your life where the word was given, but when you hear the word, it is not giving you an instant result of how to deal, an instant instruction of how to deal with your current problem?
Yes.
And what happens when I look at my current problem and the word you're giving me, your word needs process? I'm not interested.
Yep.
I want a word that takes me out now. Give me. And that is why you find in the church, we became addicted to the message of receive.
Yes.
Fall
Yes.
down and just
Yes.
receive.
It's
Why?
true. It's true.
This receive tells you there's
Yeah.
no process.
There's no process.
Go home and things are well.
Think carefully about the widow we speak about in 2 Kings. This widow is interesting. The creditor is coming to take her sons tomorrow.
Yes.
Elijah gives her a process. Please connect the two.
Not instant. It
Not
was a process.
instant.
Go borrow.
Yes, a whole process. Go borrow, go sell, pay your debt, leave off the rest. In other words, we're not going to jump to responding to your creditor. Because that is not the solution here.
Yes.
The solution is having no need, but you'll pay your creditor.
And notice
but
something.
post that.
When the prophet gave her the word,
Yes.
he went.
That's it. He left all the
You
process.
go,
Yeah.
you borrow, come lock yourself, fill the jars,
Yes.
go sell. Notice how you are alone.
Yes.
You must believe that what the prophet gave me is a word from God to
Yeah.
break me out of
Yes.
poverty,
Yes.
out of debt.
Yeah.
So when we come and ask ourselves that anytime anyone has a disease,
Yes.
it's always a result of something. Think
Yep.
about that.
Yep.
Anytime you're healthy, good health, it's a result of something. When it comes to poverty, is the only place people don't think that it's a result of anything. You
Now,
understand?
let me ask you a question. The
Yeah.
Bible is interesting. It says, and we love this scripture, beloved, I wish
Above all things.
that you prosper, be in health, even as your soul prospers. So wait a minute. So if health is an outcome and prosperity is an outcome, then the position of your soul should be an outcome. Okay? Then if prosperity is an outcome, poverty is an outcome.
An outcome.
There's no way prosperity can be the outcome of a process, but poverty somehow is magical.
So poverty doesn't just find you. Like I just said, a disease is a
Yes.
result of something.
Yes.
Good health is
Yes.
a result
Yes.
of something.
Yes.
Poverty is
Yes.
a result of something.
Yes.
And that is where we have to ask ourselves, how comes when you have a disease, when you are sick, you always look for the root.
Yes.
When you are unhealthy,
Yes.
you'll be told there's something you need to do. There's the root which we need to work on. There are people who have been told you're eating wrong,
Yes.
you're not exercising, just do 1, 2, 3. You're going to the root to find out. But when it comes to poverty, you are told it's something out there.
That's why
You're not
I
looking for the root.
disagree with the idea of poverty alleviation.
Yes.
Because almost every program that has been taught about how to deal with poverty said we need more money. We need to finance the poor. We need to bring more money in. We need to give them these systems. Now let's be very honest. Go do your research. All of us know places where there has been massive input to deal with the poor. Money
Yes.
has been poured.
Yeah.
Have you seen the poor change? Have you seen their lives change? All you've seen is their ability to cope
Actually, they become addicted
to that handout.
to the donations, to the
Yes.
handout. And that even takes them deeper because they tell themselves,
Yes.
without the donations, I can't live.
Exactly.
Without the handouts, I can't
Yes.
live. Therefore, you've even taken them deeper.
Yes.
But if you come and say, let's deal with poverty by just eliminating something, the source,
Exactly.
which is internal.
Exactly.
Let's talk about internal. That's why at TCC,
Yeah.
you will not hear us praying and saying, Father, we thank you because you break the spirit of poverty. Jesus will not. He has died on the cross to give you the power to deal with it.
You know, it's interesting. When Jesus said that the Spirit of the Lord is upon him and he's anointed him, when he talked about the things he will deal with, he talked about dealing with bondage and everything. When it came to the poor, it's funny. He didn't say, I will deliver the poor. He said, I will give them good news.
Good news. When you receive the news, decide what to do with the news. Because once I
Yeah.
come and tell you, listen, poverty can be broken
Yes.
by taking the word. The
Yes.
word of God has the ability to break the power of poverty in your lineage, in your life, in
Yes.
your family.
Yes.
That is good news.
Yes.
The question is, what will I do with the good news?
That's the thing.
Will I just sit and say, wait, okay, let me see if this what will work?
Yeah,
No.
let's update it and say he would bring them good information. He
Information.
would bring them reliable information.
Powerful.
He would bring them reliable instructions and strategies.
Powerful.
That's what would shift them.
Yeah.
And what do I mean by information here? And these are play on words, very deliberate. What he tells them will form them on the inside.
Information.
That information is what they need to get out.
Yes.
I like what you said earlier, and I want to kind of go back there because it's amusing.
Yeah.
That when you go to a doctor with a sickness, he listens to all your symptoms.
Yes.
Then he asks you very key questions. Then he tells you what to go do. That many times are not connected
To
to the
your
symptoms.
yes.
And you comply
Yes.
because you agree that sickness is the result
Of
of
something
some
else.
activity you
Yes.
were involved in. And he tells you some areas where you need to change
Yes.
yourself. And this is very common with sickness and disease. How come, when it comes, like you said, to the issue of
Poverty.
we kind of come and explain as if the problem is outside us?
Go
You know,
and give
I'm in a
and your
current
poverty will
situation.
go.
And I'm in a current situation. I can't do this, I can't do this, I have no money. In fact, poverty is the only thing we all know the reason. And yet we can't get out.
But I can tell you my problem.
I tell you the problem.
I
know
even
the
tell you
problem.
how it
and what I need resolved. But we never touch
me.
ourselves.
Don't touch me.
Yes, how did
you
I
know,
get here?
Jesus said in Matthew 4:4 that man shall not live on bread alone,
Yes.
but by proceeding word.
Yep.
What did Jesus just tell you? That man in the earth can only live on a spiritual word, which when it comes into the natural, it breaks all
Exactly.
barriers.
Exactly.
So if you're in poverty, you can only live by the word of God. It's
Yes.
only the word of God that can break.
Yes.
And how does it break? It
Yes.
doesn't break something outside of you.
Aha.
It breaks the stronghold inside
Yes.
of you.
Yes.
And maybe you can talk about
And I
that.
think that's why we need to look at our duality. Okay?
Yeah.
The duality of a poor person in this window is one who is great with activity,
Okay.
which has never gotten them out of their poverty. Do you know one thing common about poor people? They are not lazy.
Poor people are very busy. They are hardworking.
They're
They
active.
wake up early. They are.
It's surprising if you think about it in terms of hard
Sad.
work.
Yeah.
Majority of the people who work the hardest have not got themselves out of poverty. Why? Because their action side, their activity side, the reaction to trying to deal with the problem is so developed but their spiritual side is untouched.
Okay, let's stop there. Poor people, we said this is not someone who, in our mentality, they live in the slum, others live on the street, others don't have homes,
Anyone
they
who
don't
can't
have food. Listen, we are talking about that person who cannot make ends meet. You're struggling.
Simple.
That person is not lazy.
No.
That person is not
No.
one who just sits.
Yes.
They are hard working.
Yes.
And you're saying
Yeah.
out of their labor,
Yes.
actually, that's where we get now the issue of toiling.
Yes.
These guys can toil.
Yeah.
They can sweat, but they can't get out of poverty.
Yes.
Yeah?
Why? Because something hasn't changed.
Hmm.
See, the poor person is laboring not to become destitute.
Okay.
He is not laboring to be
Get
free.
out. I'm fighting not to go there because I
Yes.
know there's another level. If I don't push,
Yes.
I'm going to
Yes.
destitution.
If you ask most poor people, what do they tell you
Oh.
why they woke up in the morning?
Yeah.
To put food on the table.
That's it.
They woke up in the morning to make sure the children eat.
Because if they fail at that point,
Destitution.
beggar, where I'm
yeah.
actually now begging.
The poor person lives permanently
Oh.
under the threat of destitution.
Not to get out and become
There's no
someone.
vision.
It is not to get down and become this
yes.
other
Now,
thing.
did you
Oh.
know that when you live to avoid destitution, your vision is small?
Oh yes. Oh yes, because all you're looking for is food on the table.
Yeah, it doesn't
I'll be
take much to do
I
that.
can pay for my shelter.
Exactly.
I can pay for food and I'm dressed. That's it.
And
I
you're
don't even want to
willing.
push
Yes.
the buttons.
And you're willing to put any effort to get that one thing.
Oh.
So what happens, that one thing is turned over into great value for you. So somebody will give you a whole day's work to put food on the table and you'll find it acceptable.
Now let's ask ourselves. The poor rich person.
Yes.
You get that one?
Yep.
The poor rich person. Why? Because I have 3 meals a day.
Yes.
But those meals are dictated.
Yes.
Money dictates what I
Yep.
eat, where I eat, and
Yep.
when I eat.
Yes.
That poor rich person,
Yes.
when you talk to TCC, that's what you're telling you to keep remembering. There's that one statement we're using. There's the poor rich person who feels because I live in this estate, by the way, I'm not in
Yes,
the slums.
exactly.
I live in this place. But in
But
this
I can't
place I
make
am.
ends meet.
I can't. I'm permanently.
That's the
But
due understanding of poor.
looking externally,
You look fine.
the poor in the slum admire this one.
And let me tell you, how do we train poverty? How
Yeah.
do we teach poverty? Basic things like, finish that food. Do you know someone has no food? Your measurement is always someone lesser than you for you to feel that you are privileged
Yes.
to be where you are.
So we are talking about coming to a place of saying, wait, this is poverty. Even
Yes.
though in the eyes of my neighbors, I am okay, I am doing well.
Yes.
God is saying, go beyond. This is not
Yes.
what I created you to be. So when I talk about your power to experience my wealth, this is God talking, that the experience God's power to create wealth, God is telling you, not wealth to make sure you eat, you live well, and you have a car, and you can go for a holiday. That's not God's definition of power to create wealth. God is saying, go to a place where you ask yourself, can I become the person, the enabler of another? A person who
Exactly.
actually goes and picks one up.
Listen, how do you know you've dealt with poverty? One, when you have got no natural need. Listen carefully.
Yes.
Natural need is in levels. Okay? Natural need means I do not wake up in the morning under pressure to put food on the table.
You've gone beyond that.
I've gone beyond that. I do not wake up in the morning to make sure bills are paid. Wherever you live,
Yeah.
that's different levels. I'm not talking about where, in other words, when you move to another level of a higher income, you will fight poverty at a new level.
Yes.
So it's different issues. Let's first deal with where you are. To be able to know that I can do those things comfortably. Within that environment, if God spoke to me, I would not need to check my environment to respond to God.
Can I also add to that? When you look at our situations and say,
Yes.
I'm not thinking about food, you know what that means? That even if God told me, go to your pantry
Yes.
and give out 1, 2, 3 things, you will not feel like, oh,
Exactly.
you've messed with my budget. I had
Exactly.
exact for 30 days before
There
my
you
next
go.
paycheck.
There you
We're not
go.
talking about that.
There you
We're
go.
talking about someone who can say, I have reached a place, not that I have 4 packets of this or
Yes.
10 packets of this. No. I've reached a place where I know He is the provider.
Yes.
When He asks for it,
Yes.
I can release it. When
Yes.
He say I've gone past food and all this, I've gone past where I put all my
That's
focus on
what
food.
we mean.
You understand?
When we say when we've gone past that, we're not saying you
You have
stocks.
a lot of stock. No.
We are saying you know your source.
You know your source.
And therefore you're able to
You've
function.
got that fear.
It's
You've
gone.
gone past that fear.
Yeah.
I know
Yes.
that God will always provide, and I don't live on nothing. I live on, I have everything.
Yes.
But when God asks for anything, I can give because I know He's my source.
And we're not talking about acting faith.
Yes.
Things are not happening, but you're okay.
I'm content.
Listen, when Paul says, I have learned to abound and to abase, please don't misunderstand Paul. Paul was never in poverty. Paul may have been in tribulations for the sake of the gospel. He was not in tribulation because he was suffering lack. Paul always functioned. When he talks about the Philippians, you know he never lacked.
Yes.
You know he even gave. So when Paul says, I've learned to live at every level, it means at this level, with everything I have, I can give up stuff and be comfortable. That's learning to live at their base level.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean because now I am broke, God has taught me how to live here. Now that
And
I
then
have a
tomorrow I'm
lot,
okay.
God has taught me how to live here. No, it means both realms don't change me.
Yes. I think also going back to this, if you notice
Yeah.
when you're talking about poverty, the one thing when you start fighting poverty, the first thing the word attacks is the identity that you've been given by poverty.
Yeah.
There's an identity, there's a you who you are in the
Yes.
mind of God.
Yes.
But that you has been covered or laced with poverty that you no longer know
Yes.
yourself. So
Yes.
when the word of God comes, the first thing it does is break the dome
Yes.
that is covering the you. The you in God is the you who can say, listen, when it comes to things of, like you're saying,
Yes.
food and shelter and all those things, I've
Yes.
gone beyond.
Exactly.
I'm now in a place where God is using me to lift people on His behalf. I'm
Yes.
lifting people out of poverty.
Yep.
I'm talking to people, I'm talking to them, and I'm
Yes.
taking them on a journey,
Yeah.
walking with them until they break poverty, because poverty is not about giving.
Yes.
We give,
Yes.
but that's not all.
That's not about
we
it.
walk with people
Yeah,
out.
yeah, because giving takes you back to charity.
Yes.
Giving can cause you to create an addict. Giving can perpetuate poverty.
Poverty, yes.
That's why they were told, leave the corners.
Let them work.
Let them walk. Let them walk from corner to corner of the field.
Yes.
What is happening when they are walking? They are visualizing ownership of a
something
field.
breaking.
They are learning how to do this. They're asking themselves, how can I not have my field?
My own.
As they harvest, do you realize the harvest has got seed in it?
The next season they have work to do.
Simple.
Yeah.
You're helping them that next season, don't walk this harvest.
So do we give? Yes.
Yes, we do.
But we work with people.
Yes.
And maybe that's where you need to ask yourself, is there a possibility that somebody is walking with me, or am I walking with someone?
Yes.
Ask yourself, am I walking with somebody to help them get out of their poverty, or is somebody walking with me?
Yes.
When somebody is walking with me,
Yes.
I have to be diligent. And that's what we said the other day.
Yeah.
I cannot be giving you money to get you out, but you're
Yes.
not willing to open up your life
True.
to be mentored to
True.
walk out.
Now, the key issue that you must understand that is very important is this. Poverty locks down your creativity. Poverty is dangerous in the sense that you cannot have a spirit of poverty, or should I say, you cannot have a mentality, because when I say spirit, you'll think it needs to be cast out.
The mentality.
Here, spirit is a small
Yeah.
s, not a big s, okay? So here, the mentality of poverty, because if you have that, when a word is spoken, you don't hear the word. You hear, what's my solution?
Yes.
How do I get out of my problem? You have too many sounds hitting at you.
Yes.
Now, the only way you're going to be able to break out of poverty is the ability to first acknowledge. Acknowledge. Listen carefully. I am this person you've described. It's almost like you need to get born again. I am this person.
Yes.
I have chosen that the current environment I am in, I've always assumed is because of where I am and the people who have harmed me over the way. But I've realized that if I'm in this state, I accepted everything they said to me about me. I acknowledged I am who they say I am, and it has manifested in my current environment.
Yeah.
I choose to change. That change is going to cause you to begin to ignore the noise
Oh, yes.
and begin to access. Now, in this series, we will continue post-poverty. If we can deal with poverty and debt, how do we step into the next level that takes us into the part of
And now you understand when we talk about the spiritual word, we say that when we talk about living by the proceeding word, we are saying that God is sending us a word because it's only the word that can break us out of poverty, out of debt, out of this journey where we have thought that we are condemned for life, we are doomed. We can't get out of this. We can get out of poverty. We can get out of debt. And you have to make that choice. You have to decide.
Yes.
On Sunday, we'll continue this discussion.
Yep.
Now, we'll be having questions where you come and say, wait a minute, I'm in poverty, this is happening in my life. How do I break this, or how do I get out of this? Send your questions to the admin on our Facebook page, the Cyrus Community, and we will get to your questions on Sunday, 11 o'clock East African time. Let's catch up. This is where we say, keep it kingdom.
Keep it pure.
Keep it pure. God bless you.
God bless you.